Okay, welcome to another episode of Chaddy Issues, Dr. Knickerbocker number 9. I'd like to thank our guest today, Todd Dales, for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
As usual, we've got the crime boss on my right-hand side, Tanya. And
Security
we
guys.
have Mr. Olive Oil here on the left hand, on my left, my good friend Louis Sambeski. You're looking sharp, mate. Actually, one could be mistaken that you spent the last 3 months on the French Riviera. But reality is you've been in some industrial site in Lebanon somewhere, had a quick trip up to the Gold Coast. It's all good. But you know what? People pay for that shit and they don't even get it as good as that.
Yeah.
You know, like Botox, this and yeah. So, man,
No, I keep things pretty natural, mate.
I tell Sarah,
and pretty
tell
simple.
Sarah all the time, it's hard work being sexy. Thank you, Todd. I must admit, meeting you on one of probably the best weekends of my life was something I'll never forget. And how we met is even more interesting because, so we were at a very good friend of ours' farm, Danny, and I want to take this opportunity to actually thank Danny and his partner for everything they've done for us. And honestly, the level of generosity they have shown towards us, I actually sit there at night sometimes and say to myself, man, why am I so lucky? Like, how do these people just magically appear in my life? And if I had to pin it on something, it's going back to what I said in the previous podcast. My mum would always tell me to give the food to the birds or give to the poor. And I think like it's an energy thing. It all comes back when you just do it because it's the right thing to do. I think it all comes back. And Danny, my kids, on behalf of my kids and myself, you hold a very special place in our heart. And thank you very much for everything you've done for us. And we're just about to leave the farm. And by the way, it's the most beautiful farm. We may even give it a plug because you can do a bed and breakfast on there. And we had probably an amazing time doing not much at all, laughing more than anything. And just as we were about to leave, we kind of just lingered because we did want to leave. And all of a sudden, I hear this trailer come up the driveway. And I thought, because I've got the best staff in the world, right? And I thought, it's my boys playing tricks on me. They're out here like to spoil our weekend. Like, it was a very familiar sound, that trailer. I'm like, no, that's not my trailer. So all of a sudden, Todd Dales jumps out with Shana?
Sarsha.
Sasha. And the first thing I saw is fresh faces. Like, because people's face, that's your mural.
Yeah.
And the glow in Sasha as well. And then, like we got talking, it was about, I don't know, it was actually, I picked up your Canadian straight away, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, because that's my favourite country in the world. And when I was married, I'd say, just say the word and one-way ticket to Canada and you'll never see me again.
I felt the same way, only when I came to Australia.
Yeah. What's Vancouver? You're not from Vancouver, you're from...
I'm from a little town called Smiths Falls, which is just outside of Ottawa, so sort of mid-east.
So what's Ottawa like compared to Vancouver?
Ottawa and Vancouver are a bit similar. Not as much as sort of Vancouver and Melbourne are in my mind. Yeah. Ottawa is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's a smaller city. It's a bit bigger now, so I've been away for 28 years, but it is a gorgeous city. It still has the longest skating rink in the world, right?
How did you get here?
I used to work in and live in Banff in the Rocky Mountains in Australia. So I worked with, celebrated, and had some great times with some Australians. So I knew when I landed that the likelihood of me going home is pretty slim.
So as you could see by the smile on my face, I said to my son, when you finish high school, you're going to Banff for 3 months. Oh. You're going to have a skiing holiday.
My general manager at one of the hotels in Banff put it best to me. He goes, Banff's like university, only we don't stop and study. It was the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah, it's just, man, the people I noticed, the nature, I mean, the place is determined by two things, the environment and the people. Yeah. And as soon as I landed in Canada, it's just a feeling I'll never forget. And I was blessed enough to go in 2005 and I went back in 2017. The change at Whistler Mountain, it's like blown me away. They've almost turned it like High Point on a mountain.
Yeah.
Sad.
I've never been to Whistler actually. Whistler's one of the big places I hadn't been to, and it was over the top touristy, even way back then. So that doesn't surprise me.
I remember driving from Vancouver all the way through the Rocky Mountains, and just to Calgary. Calgary's like Craigieburn, and I'm like, oh my god, the whole way until we got to Craigieburn. Anyway, so Todd and I met at the farm, and we hit it off straight away, and we just got talking, we connected, and I genuinely believe there's a higher purpose here, and that's just to help things happen when you elevate your frequency. Somehow there's mysterious, magical people pop up in your life. Todd's story is full of grief, resilience, transformation, and ultimately healing. And when I interview people with such profound life experiences, the goal is to create a safe, respectful space where they can reflect, feel seen, and share their story authentically. So, Todd, I watched your video with moth.org, and I must admit I was blown away. One, the fact that you're still there to tell that story. Being there and then telling the story are two different gears, right?
Took about 7 years before I got up on stage. Yeah.
We'll go back to time, what we said before, Tanya and Louis. Time is everything. And to hear your story, even though I haven't had the exact kind of pain, I know what pain looks like, and pain looks different for everyone. I really got my full respect to what you're doing there, what you're embodying. And so tell us a bit more about that particular video. We'll start with that video for now. What is moth.org?
Moth is a fantastic international storytelling competition. You don't really win much other than passes to come again free the next month. But it's 5 minutes, must be true, can't be told before, and can't be derogatory in any way. And each month they have a theme. And a friend of mine had turned me on to it a few years before, and I'd just been watching the themes come up. And the theme that hit was lessons. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm in. So I sat and started writing out. And I'm not the greatest writer. I'm a high school dropout, dyslexic, so I'm not the greatest writer. I'm all right speaking, and I'm all right in front of a crowd, so I wasn't shy to get up. But and you throw your name in a hat. So if there's 20 hats in the name, only 10 people get picked. But you'll notice, I don't really want to publicize that because it involves someone else. It involves someone else's tragedy, and I don't want to. Mental health's a really tricky thing, and I don't want to hurt anybody else in any other way. But when I got up there and I was wondering, I was quite nervous. I was by myself. I went completely on my own, didn't take any support team. And when it came to the person before me, he finished with a little story about dancing, right? And as soon as he said something about dancing, I went, I'm going next. I guarantee I'm going next. And sure enough, they pulled up my name. And you hear in the video, I dedicate it a little bit to him. I'd never met him before, never spoke to him again since, but because dancing is one of the things that has literally and truly saved my life. I've danced, as of April 30th, I've danced for 13 years straight, every single day.
What sort of dancing?
There's no rhyme or reason to it. It changes. But it's when I was going through, when the trauma was really intense, and it was on a daily basis, a moment-to-moment basis. I was a stay-at-home dad. My partner was hurting. I was trying to raise 2 kids, and it was relentless, right? It was just, I couldn't get away from it. So I had to create some time and space to be objective and to look around at the world, and that's how I started. I've always been a big dancer. But at night, I would put everybody to bed, and I would start to dance between 9 or 10, and it could go for 15 minutes to 3 hours. And then about 6 years into it, I watched some. I was having a really rough weekend, and I was on my own. My kids were away, and I watched these. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I watched these 3 podcasts: "The Science of Happiness," which essentially says whether someone gives it to you or you give it to someone else, you can create your own happiness. Just the way it is. And then I watched Brené Brown's Vulnerability. And then I watched, and you've got to Google this guy, Dr. Peter Lovett. He's I'm going to paraphrase his story, but in high school he was quite dyslexic. so he didn't really get anywhere in high school, so I could relate to that. Then he became, but loved to dance. So he went and became a professional ballet dancer, and then sat himself down around 22 or 23 and said, how can I learn how to dance? How can I take that information and learn how to read and study? And went back, got a psychology degree. And I think was the head of a psychology dance department in a university in England. And he does this little simple, like, gets people up. And his TED Talk is just for a dancer, so much fun. And after those, I wanted to figure out how I could create my own happiness in my own space. So I built a dance floor that is literally, no joke, 700 mils by 700 mils. And that's where I go now. That's if I'm hurting, especially when I'm hurting or I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I force myself to get on that dance floor. And in that dance floor, I will jump and spin and throw my hands up and kick. And I listen to really happy music. I don't listen to anything that brings me down. It has to be a positive message.
That's actually very interesting, because I do say a lot of trauma actually stays stagnant in the body, and to release it, dancing, moving, and all that stuff helps release that. And I'm glad that you actually found that. That's actually very interesting. I haven't actually heard someone use that type of method.
The journey was really interesting. Then I came across this book that the beautiful woman has passed now, but her name is Judith Lynn Hanna, an anthropologist out of the USA. And she wrote a book called Dancing to Learn. And she clearly states in that, and I know some people that have studied how far back, because dance crosses every socioeconomic boundary, right? It doesn't cost anything. There's no right or wrong to it. And she said, and she studied it all the way back. And she said it is literally the greatest thing you can do for yourself. It creates new neural pathways. It manages anxiety and depression. With Dr. Peter Lovett, he does it with Alzheimer's patients. It's
universal.
Yeah. You can't focus on anything else, right? The negativity just doesn't, it becomes objective. It still comes in when you're dancing, but when you're moving and the rhythm and the beat and as you're going along, all the anger and frustrations and all the extra little details of life just float away. And then you create, I've created lots of things. I've created lots of men's health chats, lots of videos, my story. I don't make any big decisions, or if I'm upset in any way, that's where I find my answers.
I just want to give you some feedback about your video, because it really got me. Never once did I ever see you as being nervous at all. In fact, I just thought the flow, what this guy's been through, and just talking about it with flow, like there's a lot of work that's been done there. And secondly, about the dancing, this is why I'm doing this, because our show is, yes, acknowledging where we've been. It's very important, but it's passing on our messages of how we got to where we need to go. And they're very different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I was actually, when you were talking, and I was reflecting how people go to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
See, dancing or running or whatever, gym, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
So human beings are happiest when they're moving forward. When you're doing drugs and alcohol, you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards.
No, done the drugs and alcohol thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
spent a lot of time in my little escape room, in my own head. Yeah.
So but you have to see it for yourself, I suppose, and all that. But that's I want to say that. And then I noticed, like, because you're coming from such a healthy place with your message, that's why you went up there and did it.
Yeah.
Like for me, if you said to me, go in the crowd with, I don't know, for $100,000, I want you to go up in the crowd and just do a little stand-up random comment. Now, most people give it a crack for $100,000. I wouldn't. Yeah. But if you said to me, go up in front of a million people and talk about what you've been through the last few years, I'd do it for free every single day for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't even flinch.
Well, that's a really important point, and addressing something you were talking about a little earlier is one of the biggest steps to recovery. So I have this new theme now, right? And something I really want to do for Movember. I watched some videos, and someone would say to you, if you have a goal, I've never been great at goal setting. And they're like, what do you want? If you can't write down what you want, you'll never get it. And geez, I sat for days and danced on it for days. And I was like, what do I really want? It's peace.
Yeah.
I want peace. And I want to be able to facilitate and create peace. I've always been very good at creating a space where people can be themselves. And to do that, the only way you can do it, in my opinion, is you have to go first. So I can come in here and talk to you because when I spoke to you outside the little villa there, you could see you are just completely yourself at all times. So it just immediately lets someone else be completely themselves. And to watch that happen is a beautiful thing. So how do I create peace? Well, the first way, besides dancing, was give of yourself. Get out of your head and give of yourself for whatever is important. A friend of mine took me to a men's health night one night where it was a pub, and they called the pub clinic, and they did blood tests, and a bunch of doctors got up and chatted, and I called them 2 days later. I said, how can I help? So I jumped in, I raised a bunch of money, and we did 3 other different ones. He was going in a different pathway, and I was going in different ways. I took the first, for Moorabool Shire, which is at your Bacchus Marsh, I took the inaugural community leadership program. So 18 of us met once a month with some motivational speakers, and we got to see all different things going on in the community, and then we formed our own. We each popped into groups and did our own little events and things. And if you want to gain perspective in your life, go out and find something that's meaningful to you and go out and help. Go out and do it. You don't have to create something new. I created a not-for-profit years ago. One of the very first things they say to you in that is that, if you want to help, go and help. You don't have to create your own thing. You can go and do and really make a difference.
Why does it feel so good when we're helping someone?
Because it gives you perspective. It gives you perspective that there's a bigger world around you, and if you scratch the surface, we can spend all day on our phones looking at negative stuff, all day, and our heads are bad enough. But if you go out and just scratch the surface about what's going on, there's way more good going on in the world than you realize. Way more.
Good's never shown. They try and keep that away so then other people don't try and do good, because it's easier to keep people stagnant and let down than it is to actually uplift them.
Well, negativity is proven. I mean, watch the news.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what attracts people. It's what gets people revved up. It's not the good news messages. They get a little peak here and there.
At the end, they give it to you just a little feel good.
Yeah, but it's a shame. Like I moved into Trentham. That's part of the second story you saw. And so I moved into Trentham as a single dad going through custody court, and I was busted. Like, I was broken. But I was like, how do I manage this? And I got a job at this great little bakery, right? I worked 3 or 4 days a week, and they had this little notice board. I will never forget this for the rest of my life. They had this notice board in the corner, and the owner had a rule around the notice board. The notice board was only for community groups. It wasn't for other businesses. It wasn't for not-for-profits, community groups. That's it, right? So every couple of days, you'd meet this person bouncing in the door with, some thumbtacks or a piece of blue tack and this poster like, oh, this is what I'm doing for the world. This is what I'm doing for our community. So like, this is awesome. I'm going to get involved.
Yeah, it's everything when you remove yourself and just, roll the sleeves up and get in there.
My shit's always going to be there, man.
Yeah.
But anytime I can set it down. Anytime I can set it down and go and make it. And I'd love to say that it's altruistic, but it wasn't. It was quite selfish in the end, because it gave me a breath. It gave me to feel better about myself. It gave me to set my problems aside. It got me to meet all of these beautiful people that had all these beautiful different stories.
Well, you build the community that you need through it all. And I think it also, regardless what trauma you go through, I don't know your background, but giving is fulfilling to some sense, because you're doing what someone's never done for you.
Yeah.
So if you can just lighten that burden just that tiny bit on someone else, it's a good feeling, even if yours isn't at rest.
Yeah,
it's so sorry, Lou. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you only really by putting your story out there. I know for a fact that just talking about it is therapeutic. It's not bringing up trauma for me, because I dealt with it and moved on with it, and got 3 kids that I've got to look after. So there's no time dwelling about it. And it's like we've touched on before, once you're rock solid, you can be rock solid for somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you don't fix yourself, there's no hope that I'm going to be strong for my kids where they need that pillar of
it's a
strength.
tricky one, right? Because you still have to figure out your way along the way till you get to rock solid. I don't know there's many times in my life I've ever been totally rock solid. Like just a few months ago, I had to close my retail shop, and these guys met me because my partner and I have a little cleaning business now. It is you do what you do to survive, and you can figure out your stuff along the way. But absolutely, there's a point. If you don't mind me saying, there's a point like where you get to that point where nothing's going to hurt you anymore. That's the rock solid I think you're talking about. Like,
yeah. Well, the thing is,
the good and the bad comes and goes.
Because I've been in that situation in the early 2000s and had the house rental properties and doing all that sort of stuff, and then I've experienced the other side of it, losing my partner in tragic circumstances, having 3 young kids, to selling the house and doing all that.
Wow.
I'm much happier today.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. So the things that we have are very meaningless. So when you talk about, you've had to sell the business, it's knowing that it's not that. We can deal with it. We have our health.
Yeah, you get right back down to what's the most important in life, and for me, it's people. Right, like I would shrivel up like a dead flower if I wasn't constantly surrounded by interesting people. And I don't believe in coincidences. So when you put yourself out there like that, you meet the people you're supposed to meet. I've been planning this little Movember thing for a little while, and I think my theme is going to be finding peace, because when you find peace, as one of the guys said on the podcast, he was asked if you're happy. It was a Shaolin master, and I just was really drawn to it. And he goes, "Are you happy?" And he goes, "Well, happiness is not what I search for, because with happiness comes sadness, with joy comes, with anger comes, it's the yin and the yang of things. But peace, when you find peace and you're comfortable with who you are as a person, like I like who I am. I'm not perfect. I am the biggest fuck up going around. I've fucked up some businesses. I've messed up relationships. I've upset people. Never been great with money. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could talk about where my negatives, right? But I'm a good person. I can speak to anybody. I treat everybody with respect now. I allow anybody and everybody, and this is something I certainly learned from my mom looking back, is that anybody who walked through our door, you're allowed to be yourself until you broke the cardinal rule, and that was being rude.
Yeah.
Todd, I sit here with Tanya, who loves her dad. I sit here with Lou, who's lost his father relatively later on in life.
Yeah.
As someone who's very, very close to my dad, just the thought of it eats me up, because my father is like, he's not just my father. Like, I'm very blessed to have him as my father, but he's an amazing human first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I won't let his, everything he stands for just slide. And that's what kept me where I'm going. I was never going to let my lineage down, and that's what I focused on.
Yeah.
You lost your father at a young age.
I did.
What was that like?
Well, that just changes your whole perspective. So I was not a big kid in high school, right? I was, I got pulled in the office and got in trouble for going to school 5 days in May, for instance. But we were up one end at the gym, and I was figuring out how to get out of class that day, and how I was just going to piss off. And my name came over the announcement. I was 17, I think I was. And if they called my name over the announcements, I would leave, not go to the office. But something drew me to the office, so I walked, and it's down right at the other end of the school. It's that school, about 1,000 people. So I walked down, and they said, "You have a family emergency. You need to go home immediately." And I knew right then it was something really serious. So I ran back up. I jumped in my mate's car. He drove me home, and I'm walking out the driveway. And you always entered my house through the right-hand door, but my brother-in-law and my sister were walking at the front door. We never used the front door. We went in through the garage. And he just looked at me and goes, "It's your dad." I was like, "Oh, no." And I walked in the front door, and not really thinking that he was still there, and looked over, and there he is, lying on the floor. And we could not, the way because he dropped out of a heart attack, the way he fell and his head was in a corner. So you couldn't see, you can only see him from the neck down. And so it was easy to kind of stay away. So my brothers and sisters and nobody was really wanting to go over, but you could see how upsetting it was, right? So I ran upstairs, grabbed a blanket off, not even thinking how much this would affect me, ran upstairs, grabbed a blanket off my bed, and just ran over to him and dropped it at his feet, and then slid it up, and then looked at his face. I've never seen anybody that's just had a heart attack. Their faces shocked and surprised and tense, and yeah, it's a hard thing for a 17-year-old to do. Yeah.
So
it changes your life direction immediately.
Yeah. Very powerful. What was your dad like?
My dad was a great man. He came from a very different time in the world, though. Like, his dad dropped out of a heart attack at like 32 or 33 or something. and his uncle married his mom. That was the way it was done back days, because you protected the family, you looked out for everybody. He didn't get along with that guy very much. And I think Dad left home around 12 or 13 and just got various jobs and a bit of a knockabout, and got into a bank, and then somehow found his way after having 7 other kids. I'm the youngest of 8. And he just trucked along broke. You know, my brothers and sisters, as they like to joke, have had to fish for their dinner. And probably not a joke, probably very true. But we landed in Smiths Falls. Dad took over this, started working for this income tax agent. The guy couldn't pay him, so Dad got his house. So the guy just walked away and kind of gave it to him, I think is how the story goes. And so they were busted. They were broke. And we never had a lot of money growing up. So I started getting into my own businesses and do my own thing. And you had to kind of make your own money and do your own thing. But as far as a father goes, amazing dude. Both my parents were amazing people. They taught me 2 things that I still hold today. If you want to come after me, the only 2 things you can really damage, which I've had some people try, not successfully, is you either take away my family or my community. That's it. And family comes first. Community is in a tight second.
Do you ever feel him guiding you sometimes?
It's funny you say that. Having 7 older brothers and sisters and parents that are a lot older than me, I was very arrogant and a little cocky when I was younger, so I didn't listen to a lot of what they said. You know, I just was like, F you, I'm going to do my own thing. Because after 7 kids, my parents kind of cut me loose about 14. I was like, just don't be a dick, right? And go and have some fun. You know, you've got your own business, you got a good head on your shoulders. It's cool, great, fantastic. But at certain stages throughout my life, I was like, damn it. That's what they meant. Like, I've had that happen lots. But then when I had my son, because my dad was a bit of an authoritarian. Well, let me put it this way. He tried to be a bit of an authoritarian, but it was never really in his heart, right? Like, he wanted to be one of those grumpy dads, but he would be your best buddy in 5 minutes. We'd be playing ping pong.
I think that sounds like my dad.
me,
It's
man.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like bluff.
Yeah.
But yet I was more worried about mum than I was dad. But, you know, it was like I wait till your dad gets home. And, you know, and I remember Dad at a later stage when I was a bit older, he goes, I never wanted to lay a finger on you guys, to be honest with you. If your mum didn't push me.
Funny. Why did that generation find it easy to hit us? Like, not saying you did, but the old generation. Whereas now, I found it very hard to hit my kids.
Yeah.
I think it's because we've gone through it.
Yeah, I think it's learned behaviors. So if you look at the generation my dad was from, right, and where my mom and dad grew up, their dad and mom were farmers, and my mom's one of 11, right? I don't have time to sit down and discuss how we're going to do this. You're going to run the farm. You're going to get off your skinny little butt and do it right now. Otherwise, you're going to cop a clip, right? And that was it. There's this time management, learned behaviors, and their parents learned from, because they're not, you know, they didn't have the internet and psychologists and family behaviorists and, you know, the schools they grew up in, you know, didn't have.
The dynamics completely changed.
I was trying to explain this to my daughter, who's 17, going back a few years ago. And it's like, I wanted her to do something. And it was like, Alice, okay, wait 30 seconds, Alice, and she's in the same room as me. And then I had to get up off the sofa, go right beside her and go, Alice. Oh, Dad, you scared me. You didn't hear me calling your name. I said, I didn't get my name called 3 times by my dad.
Gosh.
It was like when Dad said Lou, it was, yes, Dad. But like you're saying, we didn't have the technology and this. And this is what I'm trying to explain to my daughter. If you've got time for that and you hear your name, I want you to acknowledge it. Yeah. Because when she says Dad, and this is how I explain it to her, if I ignored her, not that she's doing it deliberately, but because she's so into her device, I go, what do you do if Dad's sitting there? You virtually come right into my face the second time. I said, I'm not doing that, but this is what I mean. Oh, yeah. I'm not doing it to piss you off or anything, but just, and I hold a lot of the things that I copped a couple of little whacks on the arse, but I'm a bit like you, Chad. Yeah, and what Tanya's saying is we're a bit more educated, but I tell you what, I wouldn't mind giving them a kick across the arse sometimes. But for me, it's more. But it's enough for me to actually raise my voice. That's about as because it's like I talk really well, but when my voice, it's like when I talk to my dog. It's like you talk to it. But as soon as you're like, Nala, it's like ears prick up and, yep, Dad's serious.
So I think there's a couple of points that, like, I was never a hater of my kids either. But, you know, if they were ignoring me and going off tap, I'd grab them by the arm and pull them aside and say, hey, listen, let's get in tune right here, right now. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Right. And raising your voice, raising your voice dependent on the situation in a family loving environment, you know, and you're not being aggressive or derogatory is mandatory at times. It's okay. It's okay to be upset sometimes, right?
Yeah, if the wrong neighbour hears it at the wrong time, you find yourself removed from the home, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So, you got 7 brothers and sisters.
Correct.
Did you
Fair
guys
fight, 4 boys, 4 girls.
Did you? What was dinner time like? Did you sit around and eat together?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Oh, there's probably only a brief period in time where all of us were in the same house together. We laugh and joke about like we would eat with one fork and have another fork in another hand, or like if you didn't get to the dinner table quickly, you didn't get dinner.
I come from 11. I completely understand.
Which is not really true. Like my mom was, we called her the loaves and fishes lady, right? She could take this small amount of whatever on no money and feed 20 people.
And multiply.
My mom actually won a couple of Citizenship of the Year awards. She actually, while a friend of hers was dying of cancer, took 6 kids in.
Wow.
For, I think it was 3 to 6 months. I can't remember the exact time. While she had 8. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
we live in no money.
Yeah, we live in a world now where people can't handle one.
Yeah.
So
well, people chipped it. People would. Yeah. And the communities aren't great now too. I'm sure there's lots of great communities, but it was a little bit different back then. More farmer attitude. You know, you'd swap things, get things done. You sow it more.
Well, it takes a community to raise a child, right?
It does. Without question.
The reason why I asked is because eating together as a family is such a powerful thing.
It is.
I miss that. I yearned for that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I moving forward is like I hold with high value, because the conversation around the dinner table is so different to any other conversation any time around the house, and that's the connect point, but it's also become the disconnect point.
It has for sure. It's a lot different. I wasn't as strict back in the day because when I was a stay-at-home dad, I had my business or worked in hospitality, so it would work. It might only be my wife home or me home for dinner times at times, but we certainly made an effort when we could, and certainly when the bigger extended family got together, we could. And when we had, the friends over and stuff, we tried to as much as possible. But yeah, I totally agree. Breaking bread with anybody is really important, right? To sit there
course,
and have that moment.
We won't go into how you met your wife, but unfortunately, I want to talk about the drive home from the airport.
Yeah, that was from Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to bring it up, but yeah.
It's okay. That's okay. So what I'm going to talk about this with you. I'm going to try and change because like I said earlier, I really am very sensitive to a story going out and hurting someone else.
I respect that a lot.
That's not my goal here.
Yeah.
And if you have ever had a serious mental illness, the rest of us can't relate. Living as close to it, spending as many times in and out of facilities and things as I did with my partner, the rest of us can't relate. You just can't. I
really respect you for that, and I want to add to it for myself as well, because I think it's important. I didn't start this to get back at anyone.
Yeah.
That to me is a form of weakness.
Yeah.
I started this because I want to let whoever know, if anyone messes with my family or anything that I love, you've picked the wrong guy. Now, I'm not brave. I just know when it comes to certain shit, somehow I find the courage to deal with it. And I'm doing this so that so the chance of someone else being hurt unnecessarily is minimized. That makes me feel good. It does not make me feel good in any way, shape, or form to talk negative about anyone. Ideally, that's not my message. I just want to take this moment to commend Todd on that stance, and I share and value the same opinion.
So I'm gonna, when I talk about someone else's events, I'm gonna stick to the facts. So, I'd been in Sydney for a whole week. My wife had been diagnosed as bipolar for about a year, so it was quite a challenge. The past year was, I didn't know anything about it. I got a little cocky and thought I could handle things, and I just couldn't. I should have done a whole lot of things differently, but I didn't. So I have to deal with that. And I get to the bottom of the Balti Bridge, and I get a phone call from someone in our family. Won't mention their name, and she says she's very worried. We're worried about their safety. We think something's going to happen. I was like, all right, well, hang on. I'm in the car with a woman I know, but not super well at the time. She's a girlfriend of a mate of mine, and like, all right, and we're talking, and I'm slowly climbing the Balti Bridge. And as I'm just about to say goodbye, and I look over, and there's my family car at the top of the Balti Bridge. Heart stops, time stops. You freeze. And I just drop the phone. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm not looking for anything. I'm driving straight forward. I'm in Monday afternoon traffic. There's 3 lanes of traffic. I'm the furthest lane away from this. And I look over and there's the car. And I've got a pretty good idea of what's happened. So I'm only at this point in time looking for one thing. And that's my kids' heads in the car. To see if anybody else is in the car. And there isn't. So I immediately, and I mean, as soon as I realized they're not there, I burst into tears, like a waterfall. And this waterfall went on for like 45 minutes. So we start organizing, right? We're like, okay, well, we got to call the police. And the police are like, hey, come around to the bottom of the bridge. I'm like, you must be freaking joking me, right? I can't deal with that right now. I have to get to my kids. Like, call the ambulances, call the professionals. They all know what to do. I'm not going to be any assistance to you right now. So we then call another friend of mine who lives around the corner. I said, listen, can you go check on the kids? She's like, yeah.
How old were they at the time?
Let me see. 7 and 9, I think. Something like that.
That's exactly what else my kids were.
I'm terrible with dates around this stuff because I've dealt with it. And I don't like to relive it too much if I can help it. Or relive the lessons, but not the actual instance. I call another friend of mine who works for the ambulance, right? And I call him, and he's just walking into work. And this is an important part of the story because he's in full uniform. So we slug our way across the city. And I've asked the police to make sure, I know they're going to be waiting for me to get home. Make sure you're sitting outside. Don't go inside my house right now. Please don't go inside my house. We pull up, empty police car. They're sitting in my lounge room with my friend and my 2 kids. The lights are all down, luckily, because they've been left in front of the TV to watch the movie, which is perfectly acceptable. We've done it lots of times. And I'm bawling my eyes out. So I'm walking up the driveway, and I'm slapping myself across the face, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm wiping my eyes. I'm like, come on, suck this up. You got everything inside you, suck this up. I get inside the house. I'm like, hey, to the lovely woman who was there looking after them. I ran upstairs. Hey, my kids stay at your house. Hey, we're going to have a sleepover. Da, da, da. My head's down. I'm not looking my kids in the eye. I run upstairs. I pack a bag, like, I don't know, half a pair of socks, a pair of underwear. Like, it's all a mishmash of stuff, right? Come downstairs and get the kids out of the house as fast as possible. And so I do that in a real rush. Like, when you're in the moment of working away, you go, okay, accomplish that task. And I was like,
autopilot.
Yeah. Then take a breath and realize you're standing in your kitchen with 2 young police officers. They're like in their mid-20s or something, maybe early 30s or something. Like they're kids. Yeah. And they just go, well, that's over. I'm not going to use the term, but there's no way someone could survive from that. I'm like, and that was the most disappointed I've ever been in myself by a long shot. Because I sat back. I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I leaned back on the kitchen counter and I was like, maybe she's found her peace. It was really tough. Maybe it was a bit of selfishness. Maybe it was, I don't know. It was just like, I wasn't as sad as I was just a bit relieved.
I can relate to that because I had a brother with schizophrenia who passed away medically. He didn't do it himself. But I think there is some comfort behind it, knowing this world wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And they're not in that pain, in that mindset anymore. And I'm so sorry for what you went through.
It was like, I was sorry at the moment, sorry for a long time afterwards, not so sorry now because it lost. I know it sounds weird to say, but it taught me a lot of great lessons. But that's not where the story ends. This is when it gets a bit weird. So 2 seconds later, because got a friend that's got the inside track. He's an ambo, right? So he calls me up and goes, "You're not going to believe this. She survived."
I wasn't
A
expecting.
rowing company, a rowing group was going past and fished her out of the water. I was like, "You're joking." And he goes, "No, you make your way to the Alfred Hospital right now." And he'd already called another friend of mine who zipped in his ute and picked me up and took me to the Alfred. We get about halfway to the Alfred, and I'm like, I don't know. We haven't said a word. My mind is like blank and racing all at the same time. I don't know how to process this. I don't know what I'm going to come across. I don't know, like, what do I say when I walk in? Like, there's all these things going through my head, right? We get about halfway, and my ambo friend calls me again. He goes, "Well, listen, I forgot to tell you something." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "When someone does that, the fall often scrambles their insides. So they present normal for a little while, but there's every chance in the next few hours, everything is going to go blank."
Mm.
And I was like, "You're like, what?"
Yeah. So you've gone from walking into your house,
Yeah.
speaking, getting the kids out, going with that emotion with the police saying, "Well, we know how this is going to end." It went through a similar thing, and but not that emotion because I was obviously doing CPR, trying to revive until Ambo's got there. But yeah, as you're talking, I'm going like
I
that.
can't fathom that. To think someone's gone, to then they're there, to then they could be gone again. Like,
To
I
have your
can't
hope given to you and
fathom
taken
that.
away from you in the matter of like 25, 30 minutes is soul destroying. It cleans you out.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. And I was like, okay, all right. And I hadn't realized at this time, right? I am so far forward in the seat, I'm clutching onto the dash. Like I didn't even realize that, like that's going to get me to the hospital faster.
The brain was just
Yeah, I was just
dissociating
like,
from everything.
and then I just slid back in my chair, and I was just like, oh my god! And I had the most amazing but weird feeling, this warm sort of, just all right. There's no choice here. You got to buck up and do your best, buddy. You're gonna have to figure this out. I don't know what's going on, but you're just gonna have to figure this out. So there's some calm and some peace in me. Then I get to the hospital, and of course, again, having a friend in an ambo uniform is really handy, right? Because I can't walk in and around and ask what's going on, but he can. So he's going in and out the doors. They've got traumas coming in, so I'm allowed to go in for a few minutes and say hello, and look down at my partner and have a conversation. It's a short conversation. It was like, hi, like, what do you say? How you doing? Like, can't remember what I said. And I think she said, "Why did I do that?" I don't really remember. And trauma comes in, so they kick me back out. I'm like, are you serious? Knowing the whole time I might be on a time clock here, right? And then they pull me into the lounge room. My ambo friend shows up then, I think, and he's taken, because he's, seen some critical care units. So he stops and gets some KFC because this dude's going to need some food, right? like anybody else would have thought that. Probably not. Anyway, and I've got two more cops who want to hear the whole story again, right? So I'm bawling my eyes out, checking, and they won't let me back in. But my ambo friend's like, he's walking into them because he knows them too. He knows some of them, and saying, "Listen, I don't think you understand that you need to get him back in there. You need to figure this out, and you can't just ignore this." So having him on the spot was a real...
What a friend to have.
Oh.
And what are the chances of that?
The way that worked out was beautiful. I still didn't get to spend a lot of time, and they still basically kicked me out. So I didn't stay there the whole night or anything. That was not on the cards. There was a whole process that I didn't know they had to go through. So then I had to go home. And he went home with me. And yeah, we got a little liquored. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't think I was going to sleep otherwise. The last thought in my mind before I went to bed, and this is where sort of something clicked, was just as I'm lying down, I thought, if I hadn't stopped for lunch on the way back, I would have been there in time. And I can remember physically just crumpling that up in my head like a piece of paper and throwing it the waste back, because that's never going to do me any good. Let's not do that. Let's move on.
Todd, just a couple of things. Like, obviously for people out there that are dealing with a partner that have whatever issues, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned bipolar. So just explain a little bit to us what that looks like or looked like for you. And also, how did you even manage to get her diagnosed? Because most people deny help and stuff like that.
That's that's again, really tricky aspect to it. She got made redundant from work. Again, I'm not going to speak for someone else. I'm going to tell you what I know. Was feeling very depressed. Didn't really relay that to me too much. And there's probably lots of reasons for that. She's probably mad at me for that. Maybe I can't speak for her. I was a good dad, but I wasn't the greatest partner in the world. I had my own stuff going on, so we got to build some of that.
That's what this is about, accountability. Yeah.
I made lots of mistakes along the way as a dad and everything. I'm not a malicious person, but I can be selfish at times, like we all can, and all the things. So I want to really take all that into account because this is no one's fault. Right, this is just the way life works sometimes. She went to a GP who specialized in depression, got some pills, and from my memory, if I remember this correctly, the GP went on holiday and left her with all these antidepressants that just sent things wild. And then we couldn't really, from my perspective, again, can't speak for her, we didn't really ever get on top of things after that for a very long time. It wasn't until after that big incident. And I feel bad, in a lot of ways, for her, for me, for my kids, for what we could have done better, how things could have worked out, but I can't go backwards, so I have to work forward.
How are the kids now?
My kids don't speak to me currently at the moment. We've had a few flashes of that. There's lots of reasons in behind that. I have to take some responsibility for that for sure, but there's certainly some outside forces that have played a part in that.
And they're how old now?
What are we? 20, 25, 24, and 22.
And if somehow they listen to this, we were once kids and we're now fathers. It's not easy. We're going to make some mistakes. What Todd said there was the key word for me. He's not malicious.
No.
You can make as many mistakes, but when you're dealing with malicious, that's a different beast. So please, one day you're going to be adults. We're not perfect. We're doing our best. And if you could find some sort of mercy somewhere for all of us, and when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Can I speak to that camera? Is that directly? Is that all right?
100%.
I'm not going to say my kid's name because they're not big social media kids, but, I love you very much. And I tried my best. I made lots of mistakes along the way. But there's two things I said to my kids all throughout their life was mistakes are part of learning and everything is fixable.
Todd,
and I love you both.
Power to you. I'll show you a little story that just to give people insight what it means when kids aren't talking to their parents. Last week I was working on a job and I got a outdoor maintenance business, commercial ground maintenance business, and randomly I said to myself, you know what? I really should be giving back. I should just be doing someone's property for free. Not someone who's lazy and not doing it by choice. Someone who doesn't have the ability to do it. They've had a hard run. The next day, I picked up a new job at a childcare centre. And across the road, I see an old man coming up to me. He lives in Housing Commission. We get talking, and me being me, I'm not surface level, so if I feel it, I do my best. And turns out he's lost his life savings because his eldest daughter convinced him to sign the house over for a loan, and she's manipulated all the brothers and sisters not to speak to him. Now, there's three sides to every story, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I felt everything he was saying, and then when I met his wife, I did the work, and he insisted on paying me. I said, "Are you kidding me or what?" Because my father's lost his life savings. You'll never pick it on him. Yeah, my father was a target and he lost his life savings. So, and the fact that you never pick up my dad, that's the bit I love, right? Because his happiness is not determined by his money. So I said to him, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Not only I won't be charging you, we'll be coming back every 3 weeks for free." Now, I ended up meeting his wife. I gave her my number and everything, and she started breaking down. So, when the last thing as we head further deep into our lives is not to be able to talk to your kids, because if the intention's right, everything can be fixed, and you just got to find mercy. And not easy said than done, and I hope everyone can. the strength is doing what stands in the way becomes the way. So,
Yeah.
But I think children also got to give us grace because we are learning. We do carry our own things through life. Like, just have a little bit of patience with us because we're learning at the same time. As much as we think we've got everything down packed, there are triggers throughout life. There are mistakes we're going to make. So just give us a little bit of grace.
It's a funny thing when I looked into working with young men and stuff ages ago, and I still would like to run a father and son camp, rite of passage camp for sons and their dads. And I looked at what was the age where I think we can have the greatest impact, or where I think things go off the rails. And, I can't speak for young women, but certainly for boys, let's say the maturity age, 15. And the reason I use 15 is because, first and foremost, we've asked them to learn and be inquisitive and do all this stuff, right? And then when they get to 15, we're like, yes, at some points and times their lives have been controlled by us. But first thing they realize is that we're all hypocrites, right? Because I can't tell you how to live your life as an adult. You're a kid. It has to be age appropriate, right? So we don't talk about drinking and smoking cigarettes and all the things. We keep that, the way it should be. And then they are all inquisitive, so they've got lots of knowledge and no experience, and the world kind of revolves around them at that age, right? Which is great. That's the way it should be. But then school and work and parents tell them just to kind of tone down all the questions. I'm exhausted. Let's not, you know what I mean? And start to put them back in a box. And that's not fair. That's not fair. We shouldn't do it. I've done it at times. I tried to be, especially with my kids, I tried to figure out who they were. And I wasn't as good as I may be now with the people around me, and say, hey, it's okay just to be you. That's all anybody deserves to be.
That's what I emphasize. I have two boys, two elder ones are boys. And I was waiting to hear what age you were talking about. And that's where I saw the biggest changes in both my boys. There's 2 years apart. They're 20 and 22 at the moment. But, yeah, that's where I saw the eldest one is a totally different kid to the middle one. And the thing was with me as a dad when they were that age was I had them to myself for about 3-4 years full time. So it was I didn't – when I look back at it now, it wasn't very challenging at all because I myself worked a fair bit while my partner was at home in the early stages to raise the kids. That's something we decided on prior to having kids. I was running businesses and so forth. And so for me, it was I always held that little bit of guilt, even though I was home for dinner. Yeah. I'd go back to work after dinner once they fell asleep, but I'd make sure I was there for breakfast, and I worked a lot. So I carried that little bit of the guilt. But as soon as we had that situation happen, that guilt disappeared because it was a bit of something positive came. Yeah, that's something very negative in our lives where I got to spend this quality time with the kids, and the boys do change. Jack was asking a lot of questions. Yeah. Kai is very reserved and quiet. So I'm dealing with two different kids.
So juggle having an extrovert and introvert at the same house, right?
Yeah.
That's like my two as well. But I think you've got a great age bracket. Sorry, I know. Great age bracket. I think it's a very fantastic idea. But yeah, I think that shift does happen there. Puberty, they start to get crushes. Yeah. Try to find who they are.
The whole world's an upheaval, right? They just want to they're trying to figure it out. And we're all, and too many people are giving advice and not asking enough questions.
Exactly.
I'll do it like my way. I love my brothers and sisters and I love my mom and dad. But they, for instance, they were all ice hockey players and I want to play basketball, right? So it was a big different thing.
Yeah. Todd, you hit the nail on the head. You're on the money with 15 because for me, that's straight away I agreed because there's something about that. And for me personally, my parents moved back overseas when I was 15, so I've pretty much been alone since I was 15. But secondly, just to clarify, what ended up happening with your wife?
Well, that was there was some hospital time, and it was intense, and it was a back brace for a few months, and that was intense.
So she's still with us.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd be saying this, but this is why I like getting different people on. The dancing thing to
I think
me
that's-
stuck out, and it's important.
it.
And this is coming from a non-dancer, all right? So, man, I can't dance, and
Do you know that the old this is one of the fun things how I create it. You know the old goofy dad step where you just put one foot down and you bring the foot over and then go like that.
Two-step.
Like that. Yeah, just
Like
like
a
back and
two-step.
forth when you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's what I do whenever I'm lost. That's what I based it on.
Todd, actually, I need to change
can
my
teach you how
words.
to dance
I
in
need,
about
I need to
5
change my
minutes.
words. I can dance.
Absolutely you
I
can.
just choose not to because of the hard work involved.
A good idea, though.
But just let me just say this because no one's going to believe this. I mean, he knows because he heard it the other day. I'm dyslexic,
Yeah.
and ADHD, and I'm 49 years old. I knew from when I was a kid in Lebanon, from 6 years old, that something's not right.
Yeah.
So I'm genuine dyslexic. So if you said to me one day, I'm going to pick up the guitar and teach myself guitar, I would have said, you're dreaming. Guess what I've been doing?
Guitar.
15 minutes before bed. And I'm so glad I did it because it's just opened up. Because I spoke to Louis' partner's psychologist.
Yeah, psychologist.
And I was talking to her about ADHD tablets. Like, it got to a point, it was just too much. And then in high school, because everyone else is playing guitar, I thought I'd play guitar. I was kidding myself. I'm in there, the music teacher is trying to do his best. I can't concentrate. But I did pick up one or two little things. So I didn't realize how addicted I am to the guitar. And then when I look deeper, the Chinese and even all the ancient Stoics talk about teaching music, not so they can be musicians, because it opens up the correct learning pathways in the brain.
You actually open up
Yeah.
different sections of your
But
brain
for me,
when you learn an
piecing it all
instrument.
back together,
Singing,
myself,
music, dance, you all have a
is the buzz.
And music also releases the vagus nerve. So we hold a lot of tension and stuff in our neck and
shit
stuff.
that I wasn't
so
open
all that
to.
stuff
You
just
know what I mean? Yeah.
opens up everything else.
I challenge you to something because I know if I challenge you, you probably won't be able to let go of it. You'll probably do it.
I reckon we should get you to teach him a move or two. So when his
I
wedding
don't
comes up,
really have any. Like I could do a video for you. You could
No, but
you could
not-
watch because
give
I've no
him-
one's
just
ever
give him
seen me do it.
rhythm.
I've never
Just
showed
give him
anybody.
some
I'm
rhythm.
going to make a confession here. When I was single, like a couple of years ago, whatever, I thought, one day I used to love the raves, and I used to love people watching people shuffle.
and just see Chad.
So I must admit, about 2 years ago, I was on YouTube at home
Having a crack at the
trying
shop.
to tap away. And if I was still single, I would have done it because I just want to be that guy that doesn't care and shuffles, right?
Muzza.
But guess what? Every day we're still shuffling in our own
Yeah.
way, shape, and form. And
If you dance for 15 minutes
A day, yeah.
every day for 30 days,
this challenge?
See,
it'll
that's what I
change
learnt-
your life.
Along this journey, that's what I learnt, man. Like
Yeah.
I told you, I met David Goggins, ended up running. The reason why I gravitated to him, because I saw a photo of how fat he was, and then I looked at that, and unlike any other Navy SEAL, he doesn't talk about how tough he was. He talks about the piece of shit that he once was, and the learning difficulties he had. So that to me, it triggered something in my brain. So what I learned, I realized I'm not fucking, yes, ADHD, whatever, but it's just I didn't want to put the work in.
Yeah, I still struggle with that.
Yeah,
I struggle with the routine
Yeah.
more than
Well,
anything.
the interesting thing is, I mean, my partner says I've got ADHD as well because when you were talking to her about it, and I said, "Oh, Chad wants to speak to you, Tab. He thinks he's got ADHD. Wants to get on medication," and she's going, "Well, get him to email me. I could probably do the test for him and so forth." But because she does ADHD tests all the time, and she goes, "Well, you've got it," and I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You 100% got it, Lou." And I said,
She's done the test on you already.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, why don't I need medication?" And this was the interesting part. She goes, "Because you know who you are."
Yeah.
And because my son got diagnosed, the younger one that was quiet, with ADHD and anxiety. And it was interesting that it took about 6 months of seeing a psych. This was going back 5 years ago, for the diagnosis to come in. So they gave him 2 separate medications, and I think he was on for about 6 weeks, and he was just saying, "Dad, I can't eat, can't sleep, I'm sweating, it's really uncomfortable." And then we didn't really talk about it much for a month, and then he just came out and said, "Dad, I stopped taking the medication." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "It's not a miracle thing," and the doctors did say that it might work on 2 in 10 people. We try something else. I said, "But what about we try training?" And started going to the gym and exercising. Totally different kid.
It's amazing what any energy release will give you, right?
So,
because that's what happens. Your energy builds up. You don't know what to do with it. And then like when I was in really tense situations, I would freeze.
Yeah.
And I'd be stagnant, right? So I would be too scared to move forward, back, side to side, so I'd stay there. Well, if you stay still, the whole world keeps moving, baby. So figure out a way. There's no one license to it. It's whatever works for you, but just keep trying.
And that's why I'm grateful I brought you in, because the message here, like the word emotion comes from the word motion. So for us to feel good, or we feel bad because we're not moving, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, that's why I'm glad I brought this dynamic. I'm glad to have met you. And obviously, we're time conscious. I'm so grateful that you came in and vulnerable, shared your message. And this is the last thing I want to leave you with. And we'll keep working together, Todd. I think there's a higher purpose here. Because I always go back to that moment, that certain moment looks differently for everyone. You know, when your whole world is caving in, you know, when you walked in on you.
Yeah.
That moment, you would have felt a certain way, right? At that point, he would have felt a certain way.
Yeah.
What would you say to yourself now that you didn't say to yourself back then that will help others?
What advice would I give to myself then?
Because this is designed to help the other people listen.
This is going to sound a lot harder than it actually is, but breathe. Just there's a moment between action and reaction, right? There's always a moment. When you're younger, that moment's shorter because, especially for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but I was a little bit more hot-headed, a little bit more cocky, and I was quick-witted. So it's not clap back, right? That gap between action and reaction is as long as you want to make it. If you breathe and take your time, like nowadays, and this comes with age and experience and being through trauma and lots of, so it's easy for me to say now, but if you can catch yourself, right, and just breathe. Just know that everything in this moment, despite what is going on around you, everything in this moment, nothing's wrong. Something might pop off tomorrow, and something might have just popped off 5 minutes ago. But right here, right now, you can have the essence and the wherewithal to just stop and breathe and go, okay, all right. It's easier for me now when people walk up to what is seemingly an emergency. Is it that big a deal? Mm. Is it really going to matter in 6 months or a year, or what happens? Or like when I got a phone call, my mom was dying, so we flew home to see her, right? And everybody knew she was waiting for me, because the question to my mom was, who's your favorite child? The furthest away and the sickest. Well, I was always the furthest away, so my brothers and sisters still left. But I went home for a month with my kids, and I came back, and we knew that things were probably going to progress. And in Canada, she was allowed to decide, right? And this is the weirdest thing, and this is where I had to really catch myself and stop and go, what if the worst thing, and I've learned this more lately, what if the worst thing that happens to you is the best thing that happens to you? And that's somewhat proven in my life a little bit. But my mom, they speak to her, right? She's been given an injection, so time is short. And my mom rolls over and goes, hey, I'm not dead yet, hang on. And I'm like, okay, mom's cracking jokes.
Right? Yeah, it's so powerful, man.
And then so we have a little chat, right? And what do you talk about? Like, hey, well, how was your day? And then the hardest was, how do you say goodbye? See you next week, mom. Talk to you later. Like,
yeah, it's a different goodbye.
Subconsciously,
I love you. Take care. It was the weirdest. And then I had to hang up the phone. Yeah, and my brothers and sisters are all there, and I get to sit by myself. I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for me. It was a unique situation I'd never been through. And so I had to sit there and go, okay, let's just breathe. My mom was 86. Mm. She lived a life, been honored by the government, raised 8 beautiful human beings. Well, at least 7. And so as far as I was concerned, I was just like, you won the fucking race, baby.
Yeah.
You won the race. I got nothing to grieve over here. I'm going to celebrate all the funny shit you did over. And she did some wild, crazy stuff, but lots of great stuff. But so I know it's hardest in the tensest moment, but if you can gather it together and just go, okay. And like I'm really good. If there's a car accident outside, I could run out there and be calm.
good trauma response.
Yeah, Todd. That's
not
actually,
not
that's
necessarily if it's happening to me all the time, but that sort of stuff I'm not too bad at. And if you practice that a little bit, and it takes practice, and as you get older, when you get into your 50s, a lot less pisses you off. You know what I mean?
You've
That's not that big a deal.
the dynamic you brought today, like those just what you've just said now about that moment, because that moment, that's what we're talking about. That is some very powerful stuff. And just on that, there's a lot of good men in jails that in that moment they made bad decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of good women, I suppose, in jails too.
There's a lot of good people that have made the mistake in the moment. Absolutely,
yeah,
without question.
Yeah. You've blown me away today, brother. I'm very grateful for you coming in. Did you want to say anything to him?
I appreciate you being here and your story. I was so moved and touched by it all.
Can I say something? I just want to say it's been a real treat, real pleasure. It was a real honor to be invited here and to do this. Great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. And I really want to thank you for doing it, most importantly. This isn't easy to organize. It's challenging. It's emotional every time, but we need the people. And I'll reference you guys in November and stuff. But we need to keep these conversations going, if nothing else. We can't fix it all, but what we can do is keep this conversation going on forever.
That's what
Because it's not a
says.
one size fits all.
No.
This is. And Todd, like, I can see how invested you are in it. And I've said this before. You give me $10 billion to stop doing what I'm doing, I wouldn't do it. So that's where it's coming from.
Well, I'd take the $10 billion, just keep doing it. Just to maybe, sneakily way.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Lovely to meet you, mate.
Yeah, you
Thanks
too,
for
Nick.
sharing.
Really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
We'll catch up.
I hope November goes well for you too.
Yeah, it's going to be finding peace. So what we're going to do is we're going to interview a bunch of men. I've got men from about 24, 25, right up to their 60s. And what I'm going to try and get away from is trying to stop talking about trauma. Not that trauma is not important, but trauma is personal to everyone, right? So when you've been pushed to your limits, that's your limits. You don't know you have higher limits until you get pushed to those limits, right? So your limits is your limits. That's your trauma. So but what is finding peace? So I've got guys who have had, just brand new babies and their parents have passed away or they've gone through divorce. And I just want to hear their honest story about how they found peace. So we can all take a little something away from it is the idea.
I just I tell the kids all the time, I choose to focus on the post-traumatic growth.
Yeah. It's powerful when you let it be. It is. It took me a lot longer. I wish I had come on to it sooner, but that first lesson story was my first big, huge step. I'd make it little incremental steps, but yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
Doing a great job.